And now, good mic work commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday to you, and we are back with yet another emotionally up and down roller coaster of a podcast tonight. As Monday Night Raw just concluded, they had another nice Bray Wyatt tribute tonight on Raw, and I want to thank Neon Dream 98 for starting us off right here and something to smile about, because there's so much just craziness going on right now in the wrestling world. But I think somebody said, "What's up, Greg?" And Neon Dream says, "Up is a delightful animated movie about an elderly man and a young boy who fly to an exotic place in a house with helium balloons. Highly recommended." Thank you for keeping the chat lighthearted right off the bat, because we have a very, very unfortunate Bray Wyatt update to talk about tonight, as well as the very, very unfortunate dramatic turmoil, nonsense bullshit that's continuing to persist in AEW's locker room, really taking away from the phenomenal history-making show they had last night, which was a great, great pay-per-view. But many of the headlines are dominated by other things in AEW and not the right things. And we're heading into this Wednesday's Dynamite with a lot of uncertainty as to what AEW is going to do at All Out, and if any suspensions or disciplinary action is going to be taken against Jack Perry or CM Punk, or if either of these two are going to quit and leave the company. All of this is very much up in the air, and pretty much anything is on the table, because we have multiple reports from multiple sources to get into here tonight about the CM Punk and Jack Perry fight from last night, elaborating on it, some information from Punk's side, some information from Perry's side, conflicting reports. We still don't know what the full story is, but we have received some more details about what transpired after and what transpired before, as CM Punk apparently ran into heavy traffic difficulties, or travel, I should say, difficulties getting to the arena yesterday. There wasn't a car for him. He had to take the fucking subway or something. I don't know. But that sounded like it was frustrating for him. And then, just more of this stupid drama bubbling over last night on a night that should have been a very special night, and was for them. But having that black cloud hang over it, you have to wonder if all this shit is really worth it or not. And we'll be talking more about that stupid situation that took place, but we'll also probably talk fondly about All In, because the show itself, the matches, was very good. And last night's show, despite everything, was still an excellent night for AEW. And they are, in fact, as I predicted, going to be going back there next year as well. Tony Khan came out after the main event when the show went off the air and screamed to the audience that they are going to be returning next year in 2024. August 25th, I believe, is the date for that, back in Wembley Stadium. And we will see if I am proven wrong in my prediction. I'm starting to doubt myself already, because I've said in the past few podcasts that I believe that All Out or All In this year, I just don't see how they can top the attendance that they had. They could technically still pack some more people. I think there's enough room to stick 5,000 to 7,000 more people in there than they had. They might even be able to get that number up to 90,000 if they really wanted to. I just don't think it's possible to draw more than they did last night. So we will find out 1 year from now. It's going to be interesting to see what the AEW landscape looks like in a year, and if we are any closer to a resolution between the CM Punk and Elite and people just not getting along. Sounds like CM Punk is probably not going to be in that company forever, based on what we heard last night. He does not sound like a guy who's going to re-up his contract to me, with him constantly being the common denominator in all of these issues, regardless of whose fault it is or who started what or whatever. CM Punk does not seem to be well liked in that company, and maybe he's starting to grow frustrated with that as well. I will read this later. I want to credit the right person, but one of our scoops, one of our sources here, did say that he was overheard saying, "I hate this place," and he might just want to get the hell out of there. So we will see lots of uncertainty, a lot of things up in the air right now, as usual with AEW. It blows my mind that a year ago at All Out, we had that catastrophe happen. And I was of the belief last year that by the time we got to this year, everything would be okay. And it's the opposite of okay. We started it with a brawl out, and then we finished it with a brawl in. Probably should have been reversed, but shit's a mess right now in AEW. So we're going to talk about the latest on Jack Perry and CM Punk, and then we will talk about tonight's Monday Night Raw. I want to know what you guys thought of tonight's show. I really did like the main event. I thought the main event was great. I'm a big Zoe Stark fan. You guys know that. I've been singing her praises ever since I saw her very first match in NXT. And even though the Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus feud has been underwhelming to most of us, at least there's a silver lining here, and that Zoe Stark has been able to benefit from this, and she's gotten a great rub from both of these women, and she main evented a Raw tonight. I'm not even totally sure if this was her first Raw main event. She might have main evented one before, but just the fact that Zoe Stark was in a main event of Raw tonight is awesome. So there's a lot of things to look at tonight's show positively, and it was finally a show that didn't close with a Cody and Sammy and Owens and Judgment Day brawl or tag team match. Did we see Cody on the show tonight? I don't think we did. I don't think Cody was even on the show tonight, was he? So let me know what you guys thought of Raw. I was doing my best to pay attention to it as I was making my notes and preparing for tonight's show. But it did look to be a somewhat decent show from what I could see. And there was, some emotion there too, because they had to carry over the Bray Wyatt tribute tonight. A lot of the talent wearing Bray on their arm. Somebody in the chat here a minute ago, I did not catch this, but somebody said that Becky got very emotional about Bray. Maybe that was during her entrance. I didn't see that, so I'm not sure what Becky did or what emotions she portrayed to the camera there, but a lot of people, or one of you said that you noticed that. So it was, another nice tribute for Bray Wyatt. They ran the video package again and the rocking chair and all of that's just gut-wrenching. And it's going to get more gut-wrenching when we talk about the news that we learned today via TMZ. That's just really, really unfortunate and sad and just doesn't make the situation any less sad, and it's one of the more heartbreaking things that we've ever gone through in wrestling, and we've gone through a lot of heartbreak. So we're going to talk about Bray Wyatt. We're going to talk about Jack and Phil. Then we're going to talk about John Cena returning to the WWE for 2 months starting next week. That's kind of cool. And then we will review Monday Night Raw and we will preview Payback. And we will be doing a Payback predictions video, I would say, on Friday ahead of Payback. And then unfortunately, here's a little programming note for you. Unfortunately, I had to bite the bullet. It's Labor Day weekend, and this is the final really crazy balls to the wall week that I have at work. I can't take off Saturday and Sunday. I can't. So I have to be there. I mean, I could if I wanted, but it would be irresponsible to do that as a leader. I should not do that. Sunday, I'll be here for All Out, for AEW All Out, to do a full review, maybe even do a watch along that night. Not sure yet. But unfortunately, on Saturday, I'm not going to be home to watch Payback. So what we're probably going to do is most likely a double header on Sunday afternoon. Before All Out, I'll come up here and review Payback. Then after All Out, we'll review All Out. So probably no watch along or no live reaction of All Out, because I think I'm going to be doing 2 reviews that day. So instead of immediately following Payback, getting a review, you're going to get it Sunday early afternoon instead, before All Out starts. So 2 videos out of me this coming Sunday, predictions on Friday, and then I owe you guys a Saturday night's main event members only watch along that maybe we can do on Thursday. So I'll reschedule that. Stay tuned to the channel. Please hit that thumbs up button for me. And if you're not subscribed, please do. Just crossed over 39,000 last night. Our next goal, 40K. Really ready to get there. Please subscribe, tell your friends, all that jazz. And I appreciate everybody being here again for a very long weekend. We were here on Saturday for a very difficult and emotional Bray Wyatt tribute video. We found out together about Bray Wyatt's death on Thursday when we were predicting All In and talking about Terry Funk. Then we came up here on Saturday and talked about Bray Wyatt. And then last night we were up here for our All In review that had a lot of CM Punk, Jack Perry drama attached to it. And now we're back here tonight to talk about Monday Night Raw, more AEW drama, Bray Wyatt, John Cena, and others. Never ends. The news never ends. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, guys. Appreciate it. And happy Monday to you. Let's say hello to the chat, get some shout outs, super chats knocked out, and then we will start with some unfortunate news regarding Bray Wyatt. But good to see JJ Leg. Good to see Zach in the house. Actually, I'm going to pause 1 second. Want to make sure my audio was looking okay. All right, we're good. Nice. Good mic work logos there. Zach, appreciate that. Good to see Divine. You were the one that said Becky got emotional for Bray. So I missed whatever she did there. Or I think she also did a backstage. She did a backstage interview as well, right? I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was there. I didn't catch it. I missed it. But it's Becky, a lot like Seth too. They both seem to be especially shaken up over Bray Wyatt's death, and they, all the NXT history with those guys, and that's why I said on Saturday, one thing you got to remember about Bray Wyatt and his age and how long he's been around, he's pretty much had some sort of an interaction or relationship with 60 to 70% of the current active rosters right now that we see on TV, or the wrestlers that are on TV in both companies. I mean, he's got a far reach, and his death affected a lot of people. And you really feel for the people that knew him since the NXT days, maybe were in developmental with him and their careers grew together. It's those wrestlers that I feel the most for. And Becky is one of them. So poor Becky. Good to see James in the house. We got the Juliet here, Big J. We got Raining. We have, I don't know if that's how you say your name, Raining, W Raining. We have Deshaun Robinson. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Spaz Phoenix is in the house as well. Deshaun back in the family again. Good to see you, man. Appreciate it. As always, 7th season is here. Ben Espinoza. We've got Red Raven Rucker. Channel members, Chris Barrera in the house. Shell Shock. Clyde Wendell Slater. What's good, Greg? Much love from Little Rock, Arkansas. To you and all the chat. Last week was tough. Clyde, tell me about it, man. It was real tough. I'm still in a state of shock. We really haven't had enough days go by yet. It's only been like 3, and just being able to process so much stuff happening at once is difficult. And I really feel for everybody that's been traveling, that went to London, had to come back, and dealing with all of that news of Bray Wyatt, not to mention what's going on in your own company with the drama and the bullshit. There's just a lot on everybody's mind right now, I think, in wrestling. And my thoughts go out to them, anybody that might be struggling, from a mental health perspective. I want to shout out Tony Khan right now. Just about less than an hour ago, Sean Ross Sapp tweeted out the following. He says, lost the tweet. Let me go. Sean says, there may be some absences on AEW Dynamite this week. Tony Khan offered the show off to anyone who wants to attend Bray Wyatt's services. So I guess his funeral service must be on Wednesday or the day before or the day after. And he's allowing talent who wants to go. And that's a very, very nice gesture, because in WWE, they just have to keep rolling. They got shows to produce. They got live events. They got TV. And the talent there that knows and loves Bray doesn't have time to grieve. Seth Rollins himself got on the mic on that live event and says, I haven't even had time to talk to a therapist or anything. Some of the talent might need that, and you got to be mindful of that and understand that they're going through, a rough situation as well. So very cool of Tony Khan to offer that off. He's just a different kind of owner, at the end of the day. He really is. But feel for all of Bray Wyatt's peers. Spaz Phoenix is here with $5. I'd almost renew my passport, get a last-minute flight and nosebleed seat to be part of that Chicago crowd if Punk is suspended. Oh, that's right. You need a passport to get over here. I forgot, you weirdo Canadian. I'm just kidding, Spaz. Yeah, I mean, imagine that crowd if Punk can't be at the show. Now, Brian Alvarez, we're going to get into all this shit in a minute, but Brian Alvarez today said that he believes that the belief is that both men have been suspended pending an investigation. And unless it's the quickest investigation of all time, it looks like neither man will be at All Out. And I just don't know how you do that. I don't know how you have All Out without CM Punk there. And what a mess in this company. What a mess. But we'll be getting into that in a second. Good to see Nick Musser in the house. Love those channel members. We also have Mike Rouse. We got Doug Unfunny, Rob Strickland. If CM Punk left AEW, do you think he'd return to WWE? I have no idea, but he did go visit WWE in Chicago a couple months ago, right, when he was patching things up with AEW. And if his frustrations boil over, I think it might be enough for him to, because remember, it's been a decade now since he left WWE. Time heals all wounds. Now he's got a new focus. He has a new company that he hates even more. And if he's all pissed about his experiences in AEW, he could go to WWE just to spite them. Even though at the end of the day, I don't think his problem is really with Tony Khan. It's with the roster. So, and he still has a lot of friends on that roster. So, going to WWE for the sole purpose of sticking it to them is shitty. He shouldn't do that. You got friends there. And Tony Khan put up with a lot of shit from you. And Tony Khan's putting up with a lot of shit from everybody. And I think Tony Khan needs to be a leader because, as he said last night in the scrum, I believe, how he can't make everybody get along, and he basically, like, his hands are tied. Like, I don't know what to do about these people getting in fights. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'll yell at Tony Khan in a minute, but that was like absurd to me. I'm like, you can't force people to like each other, but you can definitely force them to not fight each other backstage. I mean, oh my God, I would be they should just put me in charge for one day. I'd be back there reaming everybody's ass. They won't mess with me. I'll get my Bill Watts on. But Spaz is back with 10 more. Thanks, dude, for that. I got fantasy booking. I've got a fantasy booking pod up now, booking the main event of Mania 40 next year. Night 2 next year. Hint, it's a well-remembered women's match from 2019 NXT. No more content till Payback this Friday. Women's match 2019 NXT for the main event. For the main event? Oh, it's got to be Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. It's got to be. Has to be. Who else would it be? It's got to be Rhea and Bianca. I'm all for that. That's the collision course I want to see at WrestleMania, and I think it absolutely should main event one of the two nights. And you're putting it on night 2. I can't put Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair on night 2 if Roman is still the champion. You can't. You can't, Spaz. You can't. You might want to, but you can't. But I think they should definitely main event. Faux show. Okay, who's next? Deshaun? Is that you? Deshaun Robinson, my boy. Thank you so much for being here and appreciate that $9.99. Hey, Greg and chat, I've missed a lot of these live streams over the past month because I've been promoted at my job. Congratulations. Like all you know, promotions lead to more responsibilities. Yes, they do. I'm actually going through a transition in my job as well. We're going through a sale just like WWE is, and I might have some increase in my responsibilities a little bit until things settle, but I know what promotions are like. Once you do get promoted, you have to do more because you probably get paid more, and you might even have to increase your workload. That's the way life goes, but that's what you have to do in life. Congratulations to you, Deshaun, hard worker. Hard work pays off. Hard work gets you promotions. I've been promoted in every job I've ever had, ever. And that's awesome. Congrats to you. Good luck with that. Hopefully it doesn't burn you out and you're able to join us as many nights as possible. We also have Ryan Adams is back in Yachiro. Good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're back. The Juliet is here as well. Good. So we got some women in the chat here in case I have any questions, because sometimes I have to ask you. Maybe Angie will pop in here later to help us out. We got Jay Lambo. I might have said hello to you already. And anybody else that I missed, I apologize, but I need to get on to talking about what we're going to talk about. Stone Cold fan, good to see you here as well. Right on. Oh, not Belair. Okay. Well, then I don't know. Well, maybe EO Sky? Maybe EO Sky? I don't know, man. But I would do Bianca and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. That's what I would do. I don't think there's a way around that. I feel like that's the way they're pushing them. But then again, maybe you can wait on that one too, especially if Bianca goes heel. But hell, by the time we get to WrestleMania, Rhea Ripley could be babyface again. We don't know the trajectory that Judgment Day is going to take and who's going to turn and who's going to be face and who's going to turn on who, because we know Ripley and Dom eventually will split up. We just don't know when that's going to be. Anyway, all right, well, right on. Let's get into the subjects at hand this evening. And let's start with a very unfortunate and sad update on the death of Bray Wyatt. As we all know, last Thursday, it was reported that Bray Wyatt had passed away. We were live streaming when the news came in. You guys were letting me know in the chat. It was extremely shocking, and we had to still try to finish up our predictions and our stream. I'm actually happy that we were able to get in all of our Terry Funk tribute before we learned this news, to where it didn't jumble everything up. We were able to get a full Terry Funk tribute out, and literally about 10 or 15 minutes later is when we got the news of Bray Wyatt. So I wasn't able to get up here and actually talk about Bray Wyatt other than the shock of learning his death until Saturday, which we were up here for a very nice stream, about an hour and a half, talking about Bray Wyatt, remembering his career, and, discussing his death and offering our condolences and all that stuff. So we did that on Saturday. And then, of course, last night was AEW All In. We had a lot of Bray Wyatt armbands. We had the House of Black coming out with the lantern, and we had fireflies in the audience. Renee opened up the pre-show with a very nice Bray Wyatt quote, and they did a good job of tributing him last night. And then we knew we would get more of that tonight on Monday Night Raw. However, earlier on today, TMZ released an update on Bray Wyatt's death. Here's what they had to say about the day that he died. WWE superstar Bray Wyatt experienced a series of heart complications in the months leading up to his death, and a doctor-recommended heart defibrillator was not with him when they found his body. According to law enforcement records obtained by TMZ, real name Wyndham Rotundo, I always say that wrong, Wyndham Rotunda, told his girlfriend, I actually thought him and JoJo were married. I guess not. So the girlfriend they're talking about is JoJo. Told his girlfriend he was going to take a nap Thursday, and she became concerned when she heard his alarm going off about an hour later without stopping. The report says Wyndham was discovered in his bed, not breathing, and was turning blue. Wyndham's girlfriend called 911 as her mother attempted CPR, but he was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Now, that's a shame that she had to find him like that, too. Cops spoke with Wyndham's immediate family members who said he had COVID in March and developed heart complications, causing him to have a, quote, weak lower part of his heart. In fact, just a week before he died, Wyndham was hospitalized for a heart issue. He had a follow-up appointment with doctors the morning he died and was advised to continue to wear an external heart defibrillator, a device designed to treat people experiencing sudden cardiac arrest. So he was given this to wear, and the doctors recommended he wear it. Though it's not known if the device would have saved his life, investigators determined Wyndham was not wearing the defib at the time of his death. They later located it inside of his vehicle parked in the driveway. So that is a shame. He actually had, a doctor's appointment, the follow-up appointment, the morning he died. He was there in the doctor's office the very same day. And the device that he was recommended to wear, some of you might know about these things, might have had a relative or family member, or maybe you yourself, who've had to wear one of these things. And for whatever reason, he did not wear it. If he did, maybe we would be sitting here talking about a completely different story about Wyndham having a heart attack, but he was saved. He's doing all right, hopes to make a full recovery, that type of thing. Wrestling career might be in jeopardy. It's a shame that we're not talking about that today. Unfortunately, he passed away and wasn't able to be revived. Now, who knows? I mean, it doesn't automatically mean that he was being stubborn or didn't want to wear it or anything like that. He might have just forgot, or if he went down and took a nap, he might have been like, shit, I left my thing in the car. I'll get it later, fell asleep. And it was just horrific timing, bad coincidence, whatever it may be. But, hearing something like that just doesn't make it any easier. We're all just sitting here with this, this broken heart. And then you read something like this and it just gets your brain turning more that, maybe, there was actually a way for this to be avoided. And that's when, it makes it even more sad because you think about his kids and all of that stuff. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. So that is a shame that it went down that way. And the fact that he was actually at the doctor that very same day for his heart issue and, wound up passing away. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. I don't know if the family, wanted this out. TMZ can be a little scummy sometimes. So I don't know if this information is going to upset the Rotunda family. Hopefully it will not. Hopefully it didn't invade too much privacy. But that's just really heartbreaking that he did have something that possibly could have helped save his life, and he wasn't wearing it. And just, my God, life is just not fair. So anyway, that's the latest on Bray Wyatt. Like I said, tonight on Raw, they replayed the very nice video package they played on SmackDown, and they did the rocking chair, and the fans were able to get a Bray Wyatt tribute experience, and then a lot of the talent with the armbands. And some of you were saying that Becky Lynch was pretty emotional about it, as well as is the whole entire roster. They got to be going through it right now, and they can't stop. They have to keep traveling. They got a pay-per-view coming up this Saturday. So it's just shitty, but that's the latest on Bray Wyatt. Good on Tony Khan too, for letting his talent head to the funeral if that's what they choose to do. So yeah, absolutely, completely heartbreaking. Rhea and Shotzi. Okay. Wow. Spaz, that's your main event? Main event for night 2, Rhea and Shotzi. Boy, that is a fantasy book. Because I don't even know how you get there. How the hell do you do that? How does Shotzi leapfrog Roman Reigns? Rhea might already be there. Rhea's up there. She's a made woman, but I don't know how you get Shotzi there, man. I'm not sure. But that's why you got to go to Spaz's channel, check him out, and listen to how he fantasy books them getting to that point. Because I think that would be kind of hard. But anyway, let's talk about All Elite stupidity. Oh my God. AEW, our friends in AEW who we love AEW here on this channel. We love WWE as well. We're not tribal in any way. We have no dog in any fight. All we want is the facts, and all we want is to be fair. That is literally it. That's all you're ever going to hear out of me, is me trying to be as fair as possible. And last night, that's what I was trying to do. I put up a mic drop on the Jungle Boy and Jack Perry situation as well last night, and you guys know the gist of it now, and you guys know what happened on the 0 hour during the Hook and Jungle Boy match. Jungle Boy made the special entrance in the limousine, and they're brawling over by the limousine, and he goes to the windshield and he slaps it and he goes, "Look, real glass, cry me a river." He calls the camera over to do this, and then he would wind up getting thrown through the windshield and it would break. And of course, that's referencing the internet story that we heard about Jack Perry wanting to use real glass in a pre-tape on Collision, and AEW didn't want him to do that. They sent Punk to talk to him or whatever and said, it's dangerous, you don't want to do that. But the story got relayed out, and there was that detail attached that had said something to the effect of Punk thought that Jack wanted to use real glass to give him an excuse to be off TV the following week. Well, as it turns out, he had a pre-planned, pre-approved vacation already set up for that week. So that was wrong. So when you look at this whole situation and why we're going to be equally critical of both men here, especially CM Punk, or not especially CM Punk, but CM Punk as well, because when you look at all of these sides of the story, it kind of just depends on which way it actually went. But for CM Punk, for him to even be mad about this, like, think about what happened here, okay? What was Jungle Boy mad about? Jungle Boy was mad about the way the story was relayed to the sheets. He wasn't mad that CM Punk told him to not use glass. He was mad how the story made him look. Now, why did CM Punk go off in that media scrum last year? You remember why? Because he didn't like the way he was being portrayed in the internet reports. He thought the Young Bucks and their friends were sending information to their friends or the journalists or whatever and making CM Punk look bad. Jack Perry saying, "Look, real glass," to the camera was his media scrum. He did exactly what CM Punk did a year ago, just not as bad. CM Punk went on a profanity-laced 10-minute tirade on the EVPs and people who can't manage targets and hangman pages and all that shit. Why did he do it? Because he was pissed about the way the stories were being relayed to the public. The exact same reason that Jack Perry did what he did last night. Is Jack Perry right for doing that? Fuck no. This is AEW's biggest show. Don't be fanning any flames and bringing any drama in here on a night this special. Are you fucking kidding me? He's absolutely in the wrong for doing that. But who taught him that? What example is he following? CM Punk's example. CM Punk, the leader. Somebody who's trying to run a business. Okay, you're a locker room leader. Then Jungle Boy just followed his leader's example. The very same fucking example that you set last year in that media scrum. You did it for the same reasons that Jungle Boy did. And a lot of people, Jungle Boy took a shot. Shots fired. That was a receipt, is what that was. Jungle Boy didn't like that the way CM Punk's camp pushed that story to the internet, and he gave him a receipt for it. The same type of receipt Punk gave at the scrum last year. That was what it really, really came down to, was frustrations boiling over, and he thought that the Elite or Kenny or the Bucks or whoever were filtering stories out to make him look bad, just like Punk's camp did to Jungle Boy. It's the same fucking thing. So I'm not absolving Jungle Boy at all of what he did, because I really am kind of insulted as a wrestling fan that you guys would take away from a night this special to go into business for yourself or to try to settle a personal score on camera. There are better places to do that. I mean, shit, you could have done it on Dynamite. You really shouldn't be doing it at all. And that falls on the shoulders of Tony Khan, who's kind of sitting there playing the innocent, oh, I don't know what I should do. I can't make these guys get along. What the hell are you talking about? You are the boss. Nobody has to have Christmas dinner together. You can't force them to do that, but you sure as fuck can force them to get along. You don't get along, you're fired. Maybe these people don't care about being fired, but it just seems like if you're a star of that level, even Jungle Boy's probably making some pretty decent money. I would not want to do anything to rock that boat, affect my life, affect my livelihood, unless you think that you can get away with it, unless you're just doing and following the same culture that has been set backstage. The fact that talent actually thinks they can go into business for themselves. Even the biggest stars shouldn't be doing that, much less somebody like Jungle Boy or anybody else for that matter. It's extremely unprofessional. You should never do it. And if anybody goes off script, you should be punished in some way. But Tony Khan doesn't seem to have, and I'm not crapping on Tony Khan. I know Tony Khan gets a lot of shit from the fans. If you're here to listen to somebody crap on Tony Khan, you've come to the wrong place. I like Tony Khan. He's not perfect. And one of his biggest issues is the fact that he really seems to lack leadership, and he seems to lack, AEW seems to lack, and a lot of promotions really have. I mean, we're looking at this from WWE's model. WWE had Vince McMahon. For all of Vince McMahon's faults and what a dirty scumbag, rotten piece of shit he was, he still, during his peak, was somebody that commanded respect from his roster. They respected him. They dare not cross him. He wouldn't be afraid to pull you in a room and chew you out no matter what kind of relationship you have with him. The story about him fining Batista and Jericho, all that money for that cage match where they bled or whatever the hell. These are people that Vince McMahon has relationships with. He's had wrestling matches in the aisleway with Chris Jericho, and he's gone out with Batista, and he's hugged these guys. He shared beers with them or whatever, but that turns off when he's in boss mode. And with Tony Khan, I think there's a lot of that, hanging out with him after the shows and going to, functions and parties, and he's going to your wedding and all of that stuff. You develop a personal relationship with him. And maybe Tony Khan really has a hard time separating himself from being the boss of these people and being their friend at the same time. I don't care that he hugs somebody. I'm glad that he cares about his wrestlers. I'm glad that when he signs somebody, he hugs them. He cares. Give me somebody who cares over somebody who doesn't care any day of the week. But that does not mean he could not do better in some areas. And he really does lack that leadership because he is not as intimidating physically as a Vince McMahon or anything like that. He doesn't strike that fear. Nobody seems to really be scared of Tony Khan. They respect him. And I think everybody who works with him respects him. At least some of them do. But when you do things like Jack Perry did, and you do things like CM Punk did last year's Scrum, that shows me that they don't respect their boss, and they don't view him as somebody that they should, respect. And that's kind of sad. So I don't know what the right answer is. Everybody wants to tear Tony Khan apart for not being the proper leader. Then what do you do? Provide us with a solution. Then who would be? What would you do if you were Tony Khan? Sell the company to Jim Cornette? No, something realistic, not something fucking stupid. But what would you do? Would you hire somebody to be your locker room policeman and really crack heads? Would that even work? Because you already have so many of your roster who have a personal relationship with you. So if the new guy in charge rubs them the wrong way, they're going to go around his back to you. I've seen this happen before because I've been a restaurant manager, and I've been GM, I've been assistant manager, I've been all different levels. So I see how these things go just in regular life. You guys probably have too in your own jobs. So would that even work if Tony Khan were to bring in somebody? Vince McMahon tried to bring in a Bill Watts that one time, and that didn't really work out. Eric Bischoff had a lot of the same problems Tony Khan did. He had too many personal relationships with his wrestlers, hanging out in the trailers with the NWO and drinking beer and, that kind of thing, forgetting that he's a boss and then letting his inmates run the asylum, walk all over him, do whatever the fuck they want. AEW is in danger of having that very same thing happen. So you got to put somebody in charge, maybe a Bryan Danielson, maybe a Chris Jericho, because Triple H doesn't seem like a guy either who would have this problem with his roster. There's only one Vince, but Triple H doesn't come across as a guy that you would really want to cross either. You know, I could never see that same situation happening on a Vince show or a Triple H show. You know, and Tony Khan might need. That's why I've thrown out Jericho's name a few times. I've called Jericho the potential Triple H of AEW for like 2 or 3 years. When he first signed there, I'm like, I could see him actually being a behind the scenes executive in the company, maybe having a heavy hand in creative or being somebody with a very powerful position there, like a Triple H, like a Bruce Pritchard, you know, like a Kevin Dunn, whatever, you know, because Vince McMahon had his circle, you know, and if Tony Khan can build his circle, a good circle without ulterior motives or playing favorites, people who, you know, are going to have the best interest of the company at heart above all else, those are the people you need to find. And we don't know who they are. We don't know who they are, you know, so whoever those people are that are willing to, you know, put their personal relationships with the roster aside and do what's best for the company and only the company, then that's probably what you need to search for or do yourself. But we can't control Tony Khan. He seems to think that he can't control this. I seem to think that that's bullshit. I think he absolutely can control it if he just put on his big boy pants. And Tony Khan, I'm begging you to do it because I want this crap to end in your company. You got way too much talent there. You're putting on way too good a TV and pay-per-views. Your production is good. This company runs well in a lot of areas, but there's a few big issues they have. And the drama and the talent getting along, I think right now is the biggest because it has completely wreaked havoc on their headlines for a year now. Dating back even longer than that to the Double or Nothing show I attended last year in Vegas when Punk won the title from Hangman Page. That's where it started. And ever since then, it's been about 15 months now of just bullshit. Just constant bullshit. And if I'm Tony Khan and I'm doing shows in Wembley in front of 80,000 people and I'm trying to run a business here and actually be a viable competitor to WWE, the last thing I need is these motherfuckers fucking my shit up. I'd be pissed if I was Tony Khan. But he never seems like he's pissed. We've seen him yell and scream a couple times in scrums, but I just need him I need to hear a story about Tony Khan grabbing these motherfuckers by their ears, throwing them in a room and chewing them out something terrible to where they're crying leaving the room, making grown men cry. That's what he needs to do. He needs to scare Jack Perry so fucking bad that he pisses his pants. That's what Tony Khan needs to do. But Tony Khan just does not seem to be that type of personality. So that means we are no closer to any sort of a resolution. And here we are again after another big show when we got to talk about bullshit. And we have to talk about drama when we should be focusing on 80,000 people in Wembley Stadium, a great main event, lots of great matches on the show. Jericho and Ospreay damn near stealing the show, tag team titles on the line in an amazing match. Saraya having her moment, the stupendously fun coffin match. And even the great opener between CM Punk and Samoa Joe. I'm loving that table spot where he swung Punk into the side of it and he broke through. That was great. And I've gone back and watched now. Have you gone back and watched CM Punk's entrance? It looks different now that you know the context of it. Just seconds before, he's choking out, apparently, Jack Perry. And when he's making his entrance coming through the tunnel, he's kind of got a smirk on his face and he does a very nonchalant type of twirl. He sticks his hands out and he spins around. He looked like he was doing it at a live event. He didn't look enamored with the crowd. He didn't look in awe of it. He didn't seem happy or proud to be going out there. He looked annoyed. And after the match, some people were saying that it looked like he was saying goodbye, but that might have just been to Wembley Stadium. Maybe not necessarily, because hell, a year from now, when did Punk come in? 2021, right? Do we know what he signed for? I believe he signed for 3 years, right? So that would be up next year unless they added time due to his injury. So some people felt that he might just be saying goodbye to London, but maybe he knew in his head that I'm over it. I'm over it. I want out. Or I punched the kid in the face and choked him. There's no way I can't get fired for this. Maybe he really thinks he's done. I don't know. But we have a lot to say about that because we had several reports on the CM Punk situation coming out from various sources. We're going to talk a little bit about House of Wrestling, Wade Keller of the PW Torch, Brian Alvarez, and during Raw, Sean Ross Sapp dropped an update over on Fightful Select. So we have lots to unpack, so to speak. But let's start with the House of Wrestling update. Let me see if there is Barry. Good to see you. Barry's here as well. Hello, dude. Bayley just posted that she's going to auction her old gear. Now I must fight myself to not spend everything I have on this. Barry, you should do it. Get her gear, put it in one of those big framing things, and then like 10 years from now, they're going to do one of those WWE treasure shows, and Bayley's going to be retired or whatnot. She's going to want to go looking for it, and then she'll have to come to your house to offer you things for it. Think of the things she could offer you. That's pretty badass. Yeah, you should do it, Barry. I recommend that. Stone Cold, appreciate that $5. This sounds like two little boys being mad at each other, or being mad for calling each other a meanie. Kind of. I mean, it's very elementary, and that's the frustrating thing about it when you're dealing with millionaires here. And how if you just put yourself in their shoes, it feels like it should be really easy to get along, or really easy to coexist anyway, but they just can't do it. Spaz, you got 5 more in earlier. The match I'm talking about is the main event of the only NXT to beat Dynamite. Interesting. See, I didn't know that either. I did not know that. Right on. Okay, cool. So let's talk about this House of Wrestling update that was released today. Now, House of Wrestling, Nick Hausman, who does good work, but whenever stories come out about the drama, he seems to be the one that's getting it from the Punk camp. You know, I feel like House of Wrestling talks to whoever the Punk camp people are, and Brian and Dave talk to the Bucks camp, and Sean talks to everybody. That's the way I can kind of gather it here. But here's what House of Wrestling had to say about this whole thing. And it started with detailing some of the troubles that CM Punk apparently had getting to the arena on Sunday. So here's what they had to say about that. Before things backstage became chaotic for Punk, it sounds as if his travel also had some hiccups. House of Wrestling has learned that when Punk landed at Heathrow Airport for AEW on Saturday morning, no one from AEW was there to greet him. It just makes me think of like little kid being out in front of the school waiting for his mom with his backpack. I don't know why I thought about that. There was also no car service to take him to his hotel. Oh, that's a shame. No car for service. You might actually have to get a fucking Uber. And when he texted a number he was given by AEW for the driver, it bounced back as being an invalid number. After waiting for a while, Punk chose to buy a train ticket and find his own way to his hotel. I actually saw a photo online of him sitting on the underground, I think they call it, right? In London with some fan. We are told that the tube was fairly busy at the time. Punk got lost, and a few fans who noticed the Second City Saint helped him figure out where he was going. It appears that Punk got into London so close to the actual event because he had taping commitments in Atlanta on Wednesday and wanted to spend Thursday with his wife and dog Larry before heading out. Sometimes I laugh, before heading out on Friday and landing on Saturday morning. So that had to be very frustrating. He gets to the show. I guess, you know, the top stars in AEW get car service, perks and whatnot. I thought he had a bus, but I guess you can't take your bus to London. So he gets there, he's got no car, and of course he is a highly recognizable figure, and then he's got to sit there amongst the humanoids and try to figure out what to do. And apparently a lot of the fans, because everybody's very polite there, went and showed them the way and got him to his hotel and got him fed, a Big Mac in his belly, and tucked him in goodnight. So that was awesome of the London locals there to get him where he needed to go. So that's a shame, and that probably frustrated him. You know, if you're somebody that's used to a certain way of traveling, and then this happens, and it's all because of stupid shit, he might have already kind of been a little bit annoyed. So about the Jungle Boy fight, here's what House of Wrestling has to say about that. From what we are told, Punk was waiting in the gorilla position before the show went live for his match against Samoa Joe when Perry entered the area and walked up to him. Punk initiated the verbal exchange between the two, asking Perry if he had something to say, and the conversation quickly escalated, leading to Perry asking Punk to do something about it. So Perry did the old Sean Ross Sapp, Bill Body thing. Do it, do it. The only thing is it sounds like Punk actually did it. This is when Punk shoved Perry. Perry responded by shoving Punk back, and then Punk put him in what is being described as a chokehold. Here's where you know Houseman is talking to Punk's camp. It's this next sentence. I laugh. We're told Punk viewed putting Perry in a chokehold as a way to neutralize the situation, as he's a trained fighter and does not want to have to fight Perry. Oh, really? You don't want to fight him, huh? No punches were thrown as far as we know. So that's clearly what we're talking about here. A paragraph like that is at the crux, I think, of all of the issues between CM Punk and everybody he's had heat with. It's how these stories are relayed to the internet. And this is clearly somebody that is friends with Punk giving this information, because nobody else would describe it in this way. The report goes on to say Punk then walked to his dressing room, got cleaned up, and spoke with AEW security. Punk, knowing that the situation was not good, asked them if it would be better for everyone if he left the building, and was told that nobody was asking him to leave, but it might make things easier if he did. Punk agreed, left the building on his own accord, walked to his hotel, and ordered Nando's for some of the talent whom he met up with after the show. And I believe there was even a party later that night that he did not attend. And I don't know what Nando's is. Is it any good? What do they serve there? Chicken? Wade Keller, the Pro Wrestling Torch, had an update today as well. And his sources also said that Punk got in Perry's face and pie-faced Perry and grabbed a front face lock and threw some punches. So the only thing that seems to be consistent here is that a front face lock was applied. So Punk definitely choked him. We know that. Sounds like both sides are confirming that. Punk's camp says no punches. Wade Keller says he heard there was punches. The Torch also claims that in the aftermath of the incident between Punk and Jack Perry, in the heat of the moment, Punk was threatening to quit AEW over his frustration with everything that happened. So I could totally see that too. He kind of had that body language when he came out for the match with Samoa Joe, kind of had that look on his face and did the little half-ass little spin there that he put no effort in whatsoever. But he showed Joe the proper respect by actually going out there and having a proper match with him, which is good. And apparently Samoa Joe might have been around that area too, helping make peace there, trying to make peace. Brian Alvarez today tweeted out that his belief is that both men have been suspended pending an investigation, which means neither man will be at All Out, according to Brian. And then about, I'd say, an hour ago, Fightful Select posted an update during Raw. And here's what they had to say about the situation. There was a lot of eye rolling and this again type of responses to the Punk Jack Perry altercation. Punk's side of the story is pretty clear, though we're still getting details about the other side. One source said with 100% certainty, Jack Perry didn't throw the first punch. Punk shoved him and put him in a choke. Depending on who you speak to, accounts have said that Punk shoved, pie-faced, or threw a punch. The situation happened between the end of Perry's match and Punk's the situation happened between the end of Perry's match and Punk's, with one account claiming Samoa Joe was trying to be a peacemaker and keep others out. Several accounts claim that Punk asked Perry if they had a problem, and Perry said that Punk started something online regarding the real/fake glass story, and that was his receipt. Key word there. I said receipt last night too, as reported by PW Torch. Perry had told a couple of people he was planning to make a comment during the match. So, and you kind of knew that too, because the way he called that camera over, it seemed like he had an idea of what to do there for sure. People close to Punk say that there wasn't much communication between Punk and Tony Khan after the incident. Punk has went as far as telling people he, quote, hates this place as a result of the constant issues in AEW. Many people within the company say he's plenty responsible for those issues, and he is. I don't blame Punk at all for saying he hates this place or being frustrated, because if I was in his shoes, I'd be frustrated too, but hopefully I would understand I'm also the cause of a lot of this stuff. You didn't hear about a lot of this. The only bad thing I ever heard was the big swole thing prior to Punk coming in. Everything else in AEW felt like morale was okay. I mean, there were enough people were signing there. It's not like people were trying to abandon ship. You know, maybe Cody, but we don't know. But Punk definitely has a lot to do with that. Now, it goes on to say that neither CM Punk or Jack Perry were at the AEW All-In after party, and Punk headed out of London Monday afternoon. As House of Wrestling reported, both Perry and Punk were told they should leave Wembley at different times to make things easier. We can confirm PW Torch's report that the production team was informed of a possible match order switch because of the situation, with the Golden Elite match considered to be moved up. There are suspension rumors, but we've not confirmed them. So Fightful Select has not been able to confirm, nobody has, any suspensions of CM Punk and Jack Perry. And I kind of assumed that we might not get any information on that today anyway, because everybody was likely traveling back to the States from London, and nobody's had a chance to really communicate or have a meeting or get back to normal yet. Maybe tomorrow and heading into Wednesday, you know, when it's back to business and you're going to TV, maybe that's when some decisions are going to be made, you know, and hopefully Tony Khan can think about what to do here. But like, just look at what a mess this is. All these different reports today, you know, Jack Perry had this planned, you know, and then Punk confronted him, pie-faced him, punched him, choked him. We don't know what happened. But like I said, you know, I said this last night, I said this in the beginning here, that this is just a situation that, you know, once we know the true story, it should be relatively easy to decipher who's right and who's wrong here, because a lot of the opinions online are coming from people whose minds are already made up. People had their minds made up 1 second after this happened if they were going to take the side of CM Punk or Jungle Boy, because they already have dogs in this fight. Luckily for me, I'm a podcaster with a responsibility, and I'm not that fucking knee jerky. You know, I like to hear about what happened, hear the details, and place blame where it needs to go. Now, some of the blame is easy because what's not disputed is what Jack Perry did. It was on camera. Not cool, Jack. Not cool at all. I understand that maybe you feel like a receipt is warranted to CM Punk, but this Jack Perry is a perfect example of a young kid being in a bad environment. You know, I posted the don't do drugs commercial clip, you know, of the dad saying, "Who taught you how to do this?" You, all right? I learned it from watching you. Jack Perry learned this shit from CM Punk. Looking into the camera saying, "Look, real glass, cry me a river," is the exact same thing as CM Punk, you know, going ape shit in the media scrum last year. Honestly, just not as bad. But 2 wrongs don't make a right. 3 wrongs don't make a right. 4 wrongs don't make a right. You can't just keep doing this shit. And it needs to be understood and known that going off script, going into business for yourself, trying to settle personal scores on camera when it doesn't further storylines, it doesn't benefit anybody, there's nothing, that doesn't do anything for the product, because none of these issues are playing out in the ring. These are backstage. And when you're taking advantage of TV time given to you, you're lucky enough to be booked on this show. A lot of talent was not booked for this show that probably should have been. A lot of people missed out on getting to compete in front of that audience. And you, Jack Perry, should have been mature enough to realize and appreciate the position you're in. If you have a problem with CM Punk, I honestly don't blame you, you know, because if I was in put yourself in Jack Perry's position. You know, he had the conversation with CM Punk about no glass. Okay, fine, whatever. We won't use real glass. And then you read in the dirt sheets that Punk thinks you tried to do that to get off work the next week because he didn't see you at TV. So he assumed that must have been the reason. And he assumed enough to get that story out to the media. How in the world can you blame Jack Perry for being pissed about that? I'd be pissed about that. And it's the pot calling the kettle black, because Punk doing that is the same thing that he got pissed about last year. However, even though Jack Perry has a right to be pissed, he blew it because you dealt with it in the stupidest, most foolish and unprofessional way you could have. And that is going into business for yourself on the camera, taking a personal shot at a guy you're pissed at on a show that is so important to this company's future and history, and it's going to be probably the biggest thing they've ever done. And that's the opportunity you took to get this shot in on CM Punk when you could have done it any other way. You could have tweeted it. You could have done it on Dynamite. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it anywhere on TV, but choosing to do it there. Maybe he thought, oh, it's the 0 hour. It's not a big deal. Most of the people were already in the building by the time that match was happening. It's not like they were out there wrestling in front of nobody. You know, they should have been focused on that. That's what it should have been about. Finishing up his feud with Hook, that's been an entertaining one. Passing the FTW title back to him, having a great hardcore match, going through a windshield, rolling thunder on top of the limo. You know, we should have come away with that saying, wow, pretty good performance by Jack Perry. Not bad. But instead, you know, he does that, causes a shitstorm. And that's where it's easy to put blame because what he did is on camera. We've seen it. Everything after that, it really doesn't, at the end of the day, matter because it shouldn't happen. We laid all that out last night too. We did hypotheticals out the ass last night. And one of the hypotheticals was, let's say that CM Punk is back there at Gorilla. He sees Jack Perry do that. He gets pissed. He steps to Perry. He gets in his face. There's a shoving match. He puts him in a front face lock and all that stuff. And he wins the fight and he goes out to the ring. But why would you step to him there? You know, if Punk was the guy that got in Perry's face, why would you do that? Your music's about to play. You're seconds away from going out there in front of 80,000 people. Why are you choosing now to get in his face? A locker room leader, a veteran of your age and your experience should wait to confront the little asshole after the match, after the show. Don't do anything that's going to get leaked out, hit the internet, and distract you and your company and take away from what they're accomplishing here. But again, we don't 100% know. Punk said, you can't blame him for defending himself. I saw that take on Twitter. Angry, yelling, you can't blame Punk for defending himself. He wasn't defending himself. If Jack Perry, you know, came at him, then of course he's got to defend himself. But in terms of what Jack Perry did, all that was is a receipt, a bad idea, a stupid mistake, an idiotic, foolish, unprofessional thing to do, but a receipt nonetheless. You know, you could argue that Punk had that coming because Punk has done the same thing. But what transpired after the fight, all of that stuff, if Punk got in Perry's face, that was not the behavior of a locker room leader. That's not the behavior of a veteran. And that's not the behavior of anybody who has the best interest of the company you work for at heart. That is the behavior of somebody who has the best interest of themselves at heart. But then let's flip it. Let's say it is Jungle Boy. It is Jack Perry. And I kind of believe these reports about Punk maybe saying something first. Do we have a problem? And then Perry saying, do something about it. And then it happens, fuck around, find out type of thing. That's plausible. I'm inclined to believe that that's a possibility of maybe Punk not getting in his face and trying to get physical. But if they're both in the same area there and they're crossing paths and Punk saw what happened, maybe he said, well, what was that about, man? We got a problem? Anything we need to talk about? And then Jack Perry walks right up to him. Then things happen. So, you know, a lot of times it was just the timing. Had Punk not been going out for his match with Samoa Joe, this wouldn't have happened. But they were just in the same place at the same time. I guess that's why these guys need to stay on opposite sides of the building, and only some of them can work Wednesdays and some of them can work Saturdays. But how long now do you think that's going to be the case in AEW? Because regardless of who's at fault and what the ramifications are and the repercussions, whatever happens here, this doesn't bode well for the history or the future of AEW. What is Punk going to do now? What is AEW going to do now if he is suspended? And I think if they were suspended, AEW might try to get a statement out on that. So the fact that we haven't heard anything makes me think that there might not be suspended. I kind of hope they're not. You know, I kind of hope that Tony Khan has a big fucking talent meeting on Wednesday and gives Punk and Phil, or I'm sorry, Jack and Phil, their get out of jail free card. All right, that's it. I understand. I'm a big reason why this behavior is so common. At some point, the blame falls on me. Jack Perry, you're a shithead for doing what you did. Punk, you've been a pain in the ass for the entire 2 years you've fucking been here. But at the end of the day, it falls on me. I'm the owner. So here it is, talent. From now on, these are the things you don't do. If you do them, it's going to be breach contract and you're going to be fired. And no more shots online, no more doing what Jack Perry did, no more going into business for yourself, no more cheap shots on the microphone, none of that stuff. You do it, I'm taking away your TV time. You'll never touch a microphone again. I'll sit your ass in the back. I won't use you, whatever, and lay down the fucking law. But the problem is that only works with probably about 95% of your roster, because I think at this point, at the end of the day, CM Punk is in a position in his life and career where he doesn't have to be scared of a promoter. If he doesn't like it there, he'll just fucking leave. Or he'll just let his contract run out and he'll bounce, whatever. Tony Khan doesn't have him by the balls. And I always feel like WWE was always so controlling of everybody they had, taking their, owning their, their gimmick and their name and their likeness and everything, and making it to where the talent needs WWE, and CM Punk doesn't really need any wrestling promotion at all, so you have to wonder what his future in the company is going to be. And I talked about that a couple of weeks ago when the Elite re-signed. I'm like, wow, well, now they're going to outlast CM Punk's contract unless he re-ups with the company and these two entities just keep re-signing contracts to piss each other off. But CM Punk seems like, with this stuff still happening, you need inner peace, Shout out to our friend Jesse David, who recommended Punk just go score some indica, man. He needs it. It's not drugs. It grows out of the ground. It's medicine. Just fucking smoke it. Just smoke it. Please. Somebody slip an edible and Phil's Pepsi. Turn it to Chill Phil for the day, because whether or not he's at fault in a lot of these situations or not, he's at the center of them, And this particular situation, Jack started it. I hate saying that because I sound like I'm a goddamn kindergartner, but Jack definitely started it. Nobody can dispute that because it was on camera. Whatever happened after that, we can debate until, the end of time. But none of this stuff is good for AEW. They have a pay-per-view coming up. They're already dealing with the difficulties of having a pay-per-view 7 days apart. One of those pay-per-views, just happens to be the biggest show you've ever done. And now you have to try to co-build and co-promote and finish off, solidifying your card for All Out in Chicago. One of the big matches on that card you would assume is going to include CM Punk. Now it might not. You might actually have an All Out in Chicago without CM Punk. And what is that? At what point does AEW might need to cut their losses? Maybe CM Punk and AEW just need to mutually part ways. And then we can debate forever whether or not CM Punk was forced out, whether it was his fault or not, or, maybe he just couldn't coexist there with those personalities. We'll never know. When he first got there, things seemed fine. He had his arm around Jungle Boy, his arm around Hangman Page, post-show promos in the ring with Jericho and the Bucks and Kenny, and everybody is getting along. And then next thing you know, it's, all-out warfare in the back. So we, think about last year, for example, after All Out, after Brawl Out, let's say CM Punk left. Let's say that was the end of CM Punk and he never came back into the company. I feel like by now, last night would have been a big part of the healing process from that. I feel like last night would have marked the official closing point of that whole thing. Punk came in, he raised hell. We had all that drama last year, the turmoil. It fucked up the locker room, the morale. It gave us headlines for all the wrong reasons. Punk mutually parted ways with AEW. The talent got back on track. They had this big, phenomenal show, because even with that, you could have taken that CM Punk and Samoa Joe match off that show, put something else in its place, and it would have been equally as good of a show. The success of the show did not hinge on that match whatsoever. So they could have had the pay-per-view last night, and the talent could be riding high today. Oh, think about where we were 1 year ago. Punk going nuts, eating the muffin, fucking our shit up, and now he's gone 1 year later. Everybody's back on track. We're on the same page. We're getting along. I don't know what the ratings would be doing right now, but I still think they'd be putting on great pay-per-views, but there might not be a Collision, and I don't know what the future of Collision is going to be if, for example, CM Punk leaves. I mean, Tony might be wanting to ring up Adam Copeland right now. Hey, can you come in and hold down the fort for a bit, because I'm about to lose my biggest star. You want to come in and be champion for a little while? He could just do what CM Punk does. He could just do what CM Punk does. Think about it. He could literally replace CM Punk. Who's Edge's neighbors? FTR. They could be EFTR. Edge FTR. I don't know. FTR Edge. Who knows? But maybe that's what I'm doing if I'm Tony Khan, is maybe I'm bringing in Adam and try to put him in that void that might be left there with CM Punk leaving. And maybe it would be a way to take away and distract from those headlines of, oh, what's CM Punk doing? You know, he's left the company, pissed. Him and Tony Khan have agreed to just void his contract and he's gone. You know, but if you bring in Edge, then, you know, maybe that's a way to just kind of push him out with the old, in with the new. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like CM Punk is going to have a rich and storied 10 years with AEW. It's just not looking like that's the case. I cannot imagine a world where he's going to re-sign with them at this point, unless a whole lot of shit is fixed in the next 12 months or however long his contract runs until. Unless a lot of things change, I can't envision a world where at this point it's worth it to him to stay there. So we'll see. It's a mess. Maybe we'll get some information tomorrow. Maybe we'll get some information prior to Dynamite, and we will see, you know, what they do on Dynamite and how they build to All Out. And they're going to have to address it. Tony Khan can't keep his mouth shut forever. At some point, fans are going to want to know, you know, what's going on with CM Punk. And one thing I will say, if CM Punk, for whatever reason, leaves AEW, whether it's mutually or he's just pissed and he doesn't want to be back there, and then Tony Khan just lets his contract run out, maybe Tony Khan still pays him, whatever, or maybe they just agree to mutually separate, part ways, and that's it. If that were to, or if Punk is suspended again for like another 30 days, then I think he should go on TV and drop his Real World's Championship and lose it to somebody. I feel like at this point, that's the least he could do. Whoever you want, pick your friend. It doesn't matter. Ricky Starks, Samoa Joe, anybody that you fucking like there, just pick them and do the job to them, to where at least you're leaving in that way. At least you're not leaving the company as a guy who never lost the AEW title, and AEW's got that hanging over their head until the end of time. You know, I think even though CM Punk, I'm sure, was done wrong to a degree in certain areas during this whole mess, it's not like he's completely in the wrong 100%. You know, I'm sure there's things that happened to set him off, you know, but I think that Tony Khan's been incredibly, you know, patient in this whole thing, and the least he can do for all the money, who knows? I mean, God knows how much money Tony Khan's paying this guy for his services. So for all the money you're making, yeah, it's come with a lot of headaches and a lot of bullshit and a lot of drama, but for the amount of money that is being deposited in your bank account on a monthly basis, I think you can go out there and eat a pin 1, 2, 3 and put somebody over. I think that's the least you can do for the roster, at least the ones you like there. You might not like everybody, but at least the ones you do like and the ones you do care about and the ones you do want to see succeed. It would be better for them if you just drop that damn belt. So we'll see what happens. What a mess. What a mess. He likes Darby. There you go, Nacho Man. That's an excellent suggestion. Darby Allin. Ugh. Nice, unprovoked indica edibles and sativa smoke. Yeah, I hear you. He's going to take the AEW title and put it in the trash on WWE. He might. I mean, I don't think so, Tony, because he's locked under contract. So if Tony Khan cuts him loose, there's going to have to be provisions like you cannot take my belt to Raw. Can't do that. So, by the way, what's going on with this Jacksonville Jaguars WWE belt? So I guess WWE and NFL partnered up to make commemorative or custom championship belts for all of the NFL teams, with the Jacksonville Jaguars being one of those belts. And I was surprised. I'm like, how does that work? Can you license the teams? Like, don't you have to go through the teams individually? Or how is there, if you do it with the NFL, it encompasses it all? And apparently that only lasted for a little while, and the Jacksonville Jaguars belt was removed. So I wonder why. I don't think they sold out. I think maybe WWE removed them, or AEW was like, why the hell are we'll sell our own damn belts. We'll make AEW Jacksonville Jaguar title belts. And that's what they should do. They should make their own. So I don't know if maybe Tony Khan called NFL and like, hey, do you guys know that I own the Jacksonville Jaguars and AEW? So knock it the fuck off. I don't know. I haven't read up on the story or why that happened, but that's interesting that apparently you can get 31 of the 32 NFL teams, Jacksonville excluded. Let's knock out some super chats before we get into the next piece of news, which is John Cena related. And then we will finally review Monday Night Raw before I get up on out of here. We've got, is it Chris? You're the one, right? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you being here, Chris. Thanks for the $5. Jericho seems right. Punk is more trouble than he's worth, but Tony Khan doesn't have a backbone. To your point, Vince would never tolerate stuff like that. No, he wouldn't. And we remember the story about... there's a story I always hated, actually, about Vince McMahon when he fined Jericho and Batista, and he was such a fucking dick to them, because Vince did not care. He would do, it was business first, always business first. Personal relationships don't mean shit when it comes to your company. And Tony Khan needs that mentality. He doesn't have it. But I don't think it's unfair for anybody to think that Punk is more trouble than he's worth. Whether he's at fault for all these situations or not, he's at the center of all of them. He's the nucleus of every one of these damn stories. So even though, yeah, he brings some ratings, he brings some interest because Punk's name was chanted in every arena for 8 years after he left WWE. He's a guy that fans always have wanted to see and are interested in, but is it enough? Is it enough to tolerate the division that he tends to bring, the reputation that he tends to bring, and his complete inability, it seems like, to get along with anybody? And I know FTR and him are all real good friends right now, and that's all nice. But we all know that can change in a heartbeat. I always thought Colt Cabana and CM Punk's relationship was about as solid as a friendship between bros could be. And look what happened there. So CM Punk, there seems to be a theme in his life, if you've noticed. So if you are lucky enough to be a friend of his right now, don't hold your breath because you might not be a friend of his forever. But let's talk about one of CM Punk's friends. I would probably say that John Cena and CM Punk are friends, wouldn't you? They were a big part of each other's lives there 10 or 11 years ago in WWE. John Cena is coming back. He's coming back to the WWE for an extended stay. So listen to this. He's going to show up on SmackDown on September 1st, this coming Friday. Then he's got a week off. And then after that, he'll be on the show for 7 weeks in a row. So basically all of September and all of October. He's going to be partnering up. I think Make-A-Wish is going to have a big thing to do with this. And he's going to be there, meeting a lot of kids, but hopefully building, his pay-per-view issue. He's going to work the India show, I believe, right? And maybe he's going to set something up here for pay-per-view. And I'm wondering if he's going to have something to do with either LA Knight or Austin Theory. I think Cena might be coming back to get that WrestleMania win back. If he's going to be on TV for 7 weeks, I don't see how he doesn't have some sort of a match, whether it's one-on-one or tag team, with Austin Theory and pin that motherfucker. I think that's an absolute given that that's going to happen. And he'll be back on TV, and hopefully he'll be doing stuff more than just phoning shit in. Obviously he's there to do the charity thing, but if he's going to be on TV multiple weeks in a row, put him in an angle or something and give him a couple of matches and let him do his thing. So we get another look at the bald spot to see how it's growing and see how much closer John Cena is coming to looking like me. And welcome back to arguably the greatest of all time. Excited to see John Cena next month. Let's talk about WWE Raw from tonight. Let me know, you guys, what you thought of the show. By the way, not a bad audience, but terrible likes. Can you do me a favor and smash Mr. Thumbs Up button for me? I would appreciate that. Tonight's Raw opened up with a Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk graphic. Very nice. We didn't get the full-on 10-bell salute here, which is fine. Those are really, really difficult to watch. And Friday on SmackDown was just not easy at all. So they did the Bray and Terry graphic. They opened up with no intro, no music, no nothing. They just came right on the air. And Sami Zayn came out first. He was going to be facing Damian Priest one-on-one. Now, J.D. McDonough has been involved in Judgment Day lately, trying to infiltrate himself into the group, and his friendship with Finn Balor is causing issues. And Balor is not at ringside for this, but JD is. He shows up and distracts Sami Zayn and allows Damian Priest to hit the choke slam for the win. And then after the match, he tries to get in the ring and raise Priest's hand, and he shoves him down, and then leaves the ring as Owens and Zayn kick the shit out of him, and Priest stands by and watches. Now, we went to commercial right after that match, but the live audience got a surprise. Tonight's Raw was in Memphis, and Owens and Zayn brought out Jerry the King Lawler, who came out. Lawler is, he's had a few health problems over the past couple of years. Finally, this man has started to age, because Lawler he never changed. Lawler looked the same from 1991 to 2018, something like that. I mean, never really changed. He's starting to look a little bit old. He had a gray beard, which looked really interesting on him, and wore a hat, and he was a little slow out there, but he did a wave. Nice ovation for the King there in Memphis, who is starting to get old. He really is. He's no spring chicken, but a legend nonetheless. Backstage, we have Riddle hanging out with McIntyre last week or the week before. I think McIntyre was about to give Riddle it's not you, it's me speech about breaking up with him, but Riddle convinced him to give it another try. And now Riddle has got some ideas for matching trunks, and he's got a picture of a little 8x10 of Drew with bro trunks. And Drew's like, before we get too excited, why don't we just see how it goes before we start making any big changes or whatnot? And he suggests Riddle suggests that they get ringside seats for the New Day and Viking Raiders match later on, because all the great teams scout their opponents, bro, or whatever. So they're going to be at ringside for that later on. Then we're back in the ring, and LA Knight's music hits. Crowd goes nuts, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I like LA Knight and everything, but can we please just try to pretend the fucking brand split exists? And then, coming through Gorilla there, I noticed right away, that ain't LA Knight. The Miz is doing it again. Only this time, it wasn't as good as the previous times he's impersonated people. He fooled everybody all those years ago dressed as The Rock, and my favorite one was when he impersonated Cena, and and Maurice was dressed up as Nikki Bella, and he had the Cena gear, the shirt and the hat, and the way the Miz did that thing with his butt, that, because Cena's ass kind of sticks out. I don't know how to describe that, but the way he was kind of sticking his ass out there, it popped me so hard. It was one of the funniest things, or probably the funniest thing I think I've ever seen the Miz do. I loved that. So when he came out dressed like LA Knight, he actually looked like him too. He pulled off the look well. I thought it was going to be good, but it kind of wasn't. He just got in the ring and did what and yeah and all that stuff, and made a few funny digs. So maybe they could have had a little bit more fun with that. But Miz impersonating somebody else, I do like that he did that, because in the past when he's done it, it's been pretty good, and I like that it's kind of been a theme. And am I missing anybody else? I know it's Rock, Cena, and LA Knight. Has he done anyone else? Has he ever done Charlotte? Because I'd like to see that, actually. After that, we get the New Day and the Viking Raiders in a tag team match. Matt and Drew hanging out at ringside on commentary. During their entrance, so I guess New Day comes out there first. And maybe the Viking Raiders do too, but I know New Day's in the ring, and that's when Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle come out. And in the ring, Xavier is playing his trumpet like an air guitar to McIntyre's music. And in the big parts of the music, Kofi is thrusting his hips. It was great. So they're dancing and rocking out to Drew's theme. And during the match, we have, I think it's Ivar has got Kofi, and he picks him up and he basically just power slams him into Riddle and McIntyre, who are sitting there in the very comfortable chairs, the same exact one that I'm sitting in right now. They fall over. Drew gets pissed. He picks up the chair, tries to throw it at one of the Viking Raiders. I think Eric, he ducks, and it hits Xavier Woods right in the face. And then the Viking Raiders get Kofi in the ring. They hit their finisher, and they get the win. So they got the win with an accidental assist from Drew McIntyre. So we cut backstage after that, and Rhea Ripley is yelling at Damian Priest and Finn Balor to get their shit together because they are challenging for the tag team championships at Payback, and she has had about enough of their shit. After that, we get the very nice Bray Wyatt video package that they ran on SmackDown. Really well done. Really tough to watch that again. And they come back to the arena and they show the empty rocking chair there. I'm glad that they were able to do that on Raw without kind of overdoing it, because you don't want to emotionally overload your roster and your wrestlers any more than they already are. And if you had to go through a whole nother thing on Raw with the 10 bells and all of that, I like the fact that they kept it somewhat simple. The armbands, the in-ring tributes, the video package, the chair, and they played Bray Wyatt's music as the fireflies were going off, and that was all real nice. So we got another Bray Wyatt tribute there. That is going to take a very long time to heal. It is, and I fully expect Bray Wyatt going to the WWE Hall of Fame next year at WrestleMania 40. I hope that he does. I think that he should. Hopefully JoJo and Bray's family is ready for something like that. And as long as they're emotionally okay to go through with it, I would love to see it happen. But they've got a long road of grief ahead of them. We all do. And, it's one of those wounds that's just going to bleed for a while. It just is. We cut backstage, and we've got Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle going to check on Xavier Woods, who's in the training room, getting examined from the cushiony chair that he got thrown on his face. Kofi's coming out of the trainer's room, and Drew says, how's Xavier? He's like, I didn't mean to do that. And I loved this because Kofi's like, it's all good, man. We know you didn't mean to hit him. You're not the type of guy that would do that. We respect you. We know who you are. And I never thought for a minute that you did that on purpose. It's all good. Fist bumped him. Xavier's going to be fine. I'm like, boy, it sure would be nice if those conversations could happen every time, because I never understood that when you're in a tag team match or something and you get accidentally hit, like why you get mad. It's just an accident. Dusty Rhodes turned into a babyface that way by just getting accidentally hit by his tag team partner, fucking went apeshit. But when that happens, I'm like, wouldn't you think that wrestlers kind of know that this goes with the territory and you wouldn't be willing to completely crumble your friendship over something like this? Last night, another good example of that in the women's match. Toni Storm didn't hit Saraya's mom on purpose. Somebody ducked. Saraya's mom was holding her. She went to go pop her. They ducked. She hit Saraya's mom. And then Saraya got all pissed and got in her face and spray painted her and kicked her ass and won the title and all that. I'm like, it was just an accident. So finally, we get a couple of adults here, Drew McIntyre and Kofi Kingston, two nicer guys in the wrestling business you will not find, being cool with each other about the accidental chair throwing injury to the gorgeous face of Xavier Woods. After that, we have Chad Gable taking on Rosemary Kaiser role. Imperium comes out. I love that Gunther has chosen the announce table as his promo platform. That's where he stands to talk. I just stand here, is what he says. So every day, every week, he goes out there, he stands on that. So he stands on the podium, on the announce table, and he says that, Gable, you've got my attention now. And next week, not at Payback, but next week on Monday Night Raw, he's going to put the Intercontinental title on the line against Chad Gable. So that's it. It's happening next week. That will be the final match before Gunther breaks Honky Tonk Man's record. I was kind of hoping this would be a pay-per-view match because I had pitched kind of a trilogy here between these two with Gable actually winning the IC title. I think that would be great for him, but winning the IC title after Gunther breaks the record. And I think if he falls short a couple of times first, getting screwed or DQ'd or whatever, and getting him that third and final match, that's where he wins it. So they can still do that. And we do match number 2 next week. But I don't want to see, I hope that's not the end of it. It's I want Gunther to win next week because he has to. He has to break Honky Tonk Man's record. Greg will accept nothing less. So that has to happen. So he's got to beat Gable next week, or he's got to escape that match with the championship. But I don't want him to beat him clean. I don't want him to powerbomb him and pin him. What I would like to see, actually, is Gable win via DQ. Because when he beat Gunther, didn't he win via countout, right? So then you beat him via DQ, and then maybe he wins the title, or maybe Gunther just retains after all is said and done. But maybe next week Gunther gets the win. He gets some help from his Imperium friends, and then Gable challenges one more time in a match where maybe Imperium is banned or something like that, and maybe wins the title there. I'm starting to feel less confident about my belief and hope and pitch for Gable to wind up winning the title from Gunther next month. But you never know. Maybe they can still do that. Hopefully that match next week will main event, and hopefully they'll tear the house down, and then Gunther can have the record, come back, face Gable one more time, and lose to him. That's what I would like to see in a perfect world. But I also said last week, or last time we talked about this, that if Gable doesn't win the Intercontinental Championship and Gunther survives this feud with him, then I would like to see Gunther remain champion until he gets a world championship shot. Remain Intercontinental Champion, that is. Like, just don't drop the belt. Be so fucking dominant that you wind up getting a championship shot while you are Intercontinental Champion. He could win the Rumble and achieve that. He could win a chamber match and achieve that. Or, if Seth Rollins survives his feud with Nakamura, then Gunther could be his next challenger, and Gunther could beat Rollins right here this fall, maybe even in October, in dominant fashion. Seth beats Nakamura or survives him at Payback. They might have another match because that's a feud that seems like they're paying it or giving some attention to, and we'll talk about it next. But maybe after that, Rollins has the bad back and all of that stuff. They could tie it in there, and then Gunther could have a dominant performance against Seth, powerbomb him straight to hell, and maybe have Gunther beat Seth Rollins the way Brock Lesnar beat John Cena at SummerSlam 2014. Remember? That would be great. Because you could play in Rollins' bad back, and Rollins is legit. He's a big star, multi-time world champion. He's a guy that has multiple clean victories over Brock Lesnar, and you put him down that easily, that could be a great statement win for Gunther. And then he's Intercontinental Champion and he's world champion. And then he just says, here's my IC title. Take it. Have a tournament for it. I don't give a shit. I'm the world champion now. And then he continues to roll. And then maybe he goes into WrestleMania as world champion next year. Cody wins the Royal Rumble, challenges Roman Reigns, and Chad Gable wins the Elimination Chamber and challenges Gunther for the world championship on night one and beats him for it. That's some good fantasy booking, right? Where's my creative role job in WWE? So anyway, Gable is taking on Kaiser role. Vinci interferes, causing the disqualification. There's a post-match beatdown of Chad Gable. Gunther goes for a power bomb. Gable reverses it into an ankle lock. He's swarmed again, and then Gunther grabs him and hits him with a very pissed-off power bomb this time and puts him down. So next week, we somehow have to get Gunther out of that match without losing the championship, but still have a chance to bring Gable back for a big moment down the road. We'll see what happens. Put the tag titles on Imperium, 7th season. They probably should do that, actually. And I think that's a good idea because Owens and Zayn are going to have to drop the titles to someone. I do not think they're going to drop them to Priest and Balor at Payback. I just don't see that happening, especially tonight with Priest getting the win over Sammy. So they'll survive those guys. But a team at some point has to beat them. They also need to consolidate those championships. I would really like to see that. Get these guys holding one belt each. So Imperium kind of feels like the likely option there to beat them. I kind of hope they do. And that would look pretty good, all three of those members with gold. Here's an idea too. Is it just me or have they kind of teased a little bit Maxine maybe joining them? I love Maxine. I am really in love with her. She's fantastic. I love her energy. She's fun. If she were to turn heel and join Imperium, that fun would go away. So I don't know if I really want to lose that. But she already got the hair pulled back real tight, Like if you just did that and put her in one of those black jumpsuits and make her, put a woman in your faction, she'd look great. And maybe she would fit with them, and Kaiser's been kind of flirting with her sort of or whatever. So maybe she plays a role and costs Gable the match or something, and joins Imperium. That would be pretty cool. But if you had the belts, Gunther is IC champ and Imperium, and Kaiser and Vinci is the tag champs at some point, that would look pretty good. I'd be into that. Yeah, Ryan, something like that. There's a million ways you could do it, like something like Gunther retain pinning Gable, but Gable has his foot on the rope, referee doesn't see it. A million different things you could do. Situation like that would be fine. Any way to get you to that third match is what I would like to see. And I just think it would be great if Gable had a moment. So anyway, after that, we had a Seth Rollins promo. He comes out to the ring. He calls out Shinsuke Nakamura. He looked great, by the way. He had a Wyndham armband on and calls out Nakamura. But instead, we get another vignette. And I like what they're doing here with Nakamura. He's much more effective, in match builds like this, showing the vignette, and the talking to the camera. Instead of him trying to be in the ring, cutting a promo, this is much better. It can be edited and presented the way they want, spliced in with him, doing his martial arts and talking about Seth's broken back and how he's going to dismantle Seth Rollins. So he does this little thing. The lights come back on, and Seth says, "Hey, the broken back didn't stop me from becoming world champion, and I can still kick your ass," or whatever. And then he's attacked from behind by Nakamura, who kicks his ass and lays him out. And Nakamura got the best of that. So I feel like I would love to see Nakamura win the World Heavyweight Championship. I would. But at this point, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be hard to not do Seth and Gunther at some point. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. But you also have to wonder what Cody is going to do. Cody wasn't on the show tonight, right? We don't really know what his next program is going to be. And I'm starting to think that WWE might not know what program his next program is going to be either. So at some point, Cody's going to have to do something. He'll be on the pay-per-view on doing the Grayson Waller show or something, right? So maybe it'll start there. Zayn and Owens are backstage. They announced that at Payback, because Judgment Day keeps getting involved and interfering and shit, that there's going to be a Steel City Street Fight tag match or something like that at Payback. So I think it's going to be anything goes against Balor and Priest, and that's what we're getting there. So I still think they're going to retain. After that, it was Tommaso Ciampa taking on Bronson Reed. Bronson attacked Ciampa during his entrance, and they brawled a bit before Ciampa was able to fight back. We go to commercial, we come back, and they had a pretty good little match here. Ciampa actually wins with kind of like a crucifix, typical basic crucifix, rolls him over, kind of a wonky pin. Bronson started kind of falling over, but they were able to recover, get the pin in, and Ciampa picked up the win there. Then we get Rhea Ripley with her Dirty Dom coming out to the ring for a promo. She starts talking shit to Raquel. Raquel then hits the ring. They brawl, and Ripley winds up retreating. Even a little tease there between Raquel and Dominic. I think Dominic should date Raquel Rodriguez next. Like whenever him and Rhea Ripley break up and he goes through, he gets over that process and he's on the rebound, I think finding Raquel would be awesome for him. So I hope that maybe Dom gets with her next. And of course, we have the match at Payback, Ripley defending her championship against Raquel. And I don't see Ripley dropping it here to her. They might make a feud out of this, and this just might be the first of a few matches. So maybe she wins, but just barely kind of thing, and they do a rematch or they run it back or something. But I don't think that Ripley will be dropping her championship to Raquel at Payback. And then in the main event, it was pretty good. Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark, falls count anywhere. And this is ahead of the cage match between Becky and Trish on Saturday. And like I said earlier, I loved Zoe Stark. I'm glad that she got a Raw main event here. And this match was actually pretty good. They had a bunch of chairs and hardcore shit in the ring, taking bumps on them. And then they started fighting all through the crowd and into the staging area. But during the entire match, it was pretty much 2-on-1 because Trish was out there the whole time getting involved. getting physical with Becky Lynch. So she was pretty much in a handicap match against both women here. So they find their way to the side of the stage area where they have all the production equipment, and they're standing on it. And Trish winds up bulldogging Becky through the table off of one of these things. That looked really good. And then they're up on some more, speakers or electrical equipment or whatever it is, some sort of platform up there. And Zoe goes to hit Becky. She ducks. She nails Trish. Trish falls off and goes through a table. So that's the second bump that looked pretty good. And that leaves Zoe all by herself with Becky, who grabs her and manhandle slams her off the other side of the platform through another table and pins her right there on the floor and gets the win. Pretty decent stuff. I didn't hate it. So hopefully the match at Payback can deliver, because most people have felt that the Trish and Becky feud has been extremely underwhelming. I can see why they pulled that from SummerSlam, but one of the good things about this whole program is that Zoe Stark has been able to benefit from the rub from these two, and she's been involved in some pretty high-profile matches and now a Raw main event. That makes me happy for Zoe. So all in all, a pretty decent Raw tonight, I thought. Payback is looking like this. We've got Rey Mysterio defending the U.S. title against Austin Theory, LA Knight taking on The Miz, Cody Rhodes to appear on the Grayson Waller effect, Rhea Ripley defending her women's championship against Raquel Rodriguez, Becky Lynch versus Trish in a steel cage, and World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. And like I said, this week, things are going to be different. My Payback review will be live on Sunday afternoon before All Out. So Sunday is going to be a long day here on the channel, but we will be reviewing both of those shows on Sunday. And it's been quite the week. I think I've streamed 4 out of the last 5 days, and a lot of it has been very Bray Wyatt heavy, very all in CM Punk, Jack Perry, drama heavy. It's been emotionally exhausting weekend and an emotionally exhausting last few days, I think, for all of us. So I want to thank everybody that's been here with me through a lot of this, who was here with me when we learned the news of Bray Wyatt's death, who was with me when we did the tribute on Saturday, who hung out with us last night after All In went off the air. And now talking about Raw, talking about AEW drama, more unfortunate, sad news about the details of Bray Wyatt's death coming out today that, we had to discuss here. And it's just been a crazy few days, but it's been helpful to have you guys here with me as we discuss it. So thank you so much for being here. I'll cruise to the chat here, see if you guys have anything else to say and any other ideas. And then I will be peacing out for the night. Oh, I didn't see that, Doug Unfunny. Thank you so much. Seth had a Fiend side plate. I like that. Cena versus Cody. There you go, Doug Unfunny. Cody said to Cena when they crossed paths in the aisleway there a few months ago that he wants a match with him. And Cena's like, I can't promise that. Maybe he can promise it now. You're back for 7 weeks. Can't you fit me in? But I feel like you'd want to build that for something kind of major, but something for TV. I mean, you could do it on TV. I mean, why not? You have so many damn pay-per-views. Why not put something on Fox and really pop a rating? Imagine putting Cody and Cena in the main event of a SmackDown. I think that would do a pretty sick-ass number. And you could build to it on TV, and it's the biggest match in SmackDown history, or whatever they want to say about it. And put a big one on TV. That's one thing we do get more from AEW than WWE. WWE, especially Raw, there's really a formula to Raw right now, where AEW, they will put pay-per-view caliber matches on TV all the time. Sometimes you can't even tell the difference between a pay-per-view and a Dynamite because they're that good. So I'd be into that totally. Cody and Cena, excellent idea. The Rock takes the title from Roman at WrestleMania, then gives it up for another year fighting for a championship. Oh, man. Brian, good to see you. I don't think Roman's title run should come to an end at the hands of The Rock at this point. Maybe at first, when he first won it, and he doesn't have this long, Hogan-Bruno level run going on here, but I think a lot of fans would consider that an insult for The Rock of all people to end that. That would be right up there with Goldberg beating the Fiend and a lot of Vince McMahon type decisions. So Vince McMahon would have to make the call on that. That it would not be a Rock or Triple H call. I think still deep down Triple H is jealous and has some resentment towards The Rock. Deep down, he might not admit it, but I think it's there. I think the last thing he's going to do is say, "Hey, Rock, why don't you come back in and I'll make you the fucking man here and I'll have you beat our the biggest, most dominant champion we've had in decades. Bring you in to do that." I don't see that being high on the list of Triple H's priorities. Right on. Okay, cool. All right. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything too crazy here in the chat. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thanks for being here with me 3 nights in a row. It's been a long weekend, like I said, and an emotionally exhausting one. The next planned video I have for you is going to be Friday. It's going to be Payback predictions. You might see me before then. I might have a mic drop up or something. And if we get any other news, like big news in terms of CM Punk and Jack Perry, and if there's any sort of repercussions, if there's a suspension, anything like that, I will try my best to get some comments up on it. Even if it's a YouTube short, I'll try to do something for you guys so you at least know. But otherwise, keep an eye out for me near the tail end of the week. Thank you so much again for being here. I will catch you guys in a few days and have a great rest of your Monday night. Peace.